Oh ho ho, so we have got double castle events, divine chests, divine altars, and lots of returning dragons and new dragons coming to DML in the new Divine Fest starting next Monday. So yes, we have the full timeline for the new Divine Fest event, and we do have a double part castle event which is going to be relatively reminiscent for some of the Ra Dragon Castle event way back when, but we also got this new image here that says Divine Fest event timeline that has PANGU on the left, a new dragon in the middle, the other new dragon, which is probably the one from Freyr, not Freya, that's probably Freyr's egg. We've got another new rainbow dragon, and we have an old dragon, which what's the origin? I think they're related to Loki somehow for the purple dragon on the right there. But either way, we have essentially a Chinese themed divine event alongside a northern divine event. So we'll go through all of the information now because there's quite a lot to it. But again, we've got the Divine Altar dragons, but they're not the only dragons in the event, and they're not the only divines in the event. PANGU is actually, the dragon on the left, the major reward dragon for both parts of the castle event. So you'll have to do part 1 of the castle and part 2 to get all of the pieces for PANGU, because he has been changed from what he used to be into a pieces dragon. So if we go basically from top to bottom, the only thing left to do is Part A. Starting on April 12th, the very first Divine Fest will begin, bringing with it an all-new storyline as well as a new kind of setup for our Divine events. Each Divine Fest event will focus on 2 of the 4 Divine themes, with this red and green event bringing new and old dragons from the Chinese and Northern Divines, respectively. Over the 4-week Divine Fest, there will be 2 chapters with 2 castle events and 2 additional events. The first chapter is devoted to the Chinese divines, while the second will feature the Northern. So chapter 1 is Chinese time, and that does bring Mr. Longwang and Chang'e with him too. The Chang'e. I don't know exactly how to say it. I try, but it's terrible. I know. That's why I call it Chang. And that's it. I leave it at Chang. Anyway, here's how the event looks. Divine Chess, Chapter 1, the 12th to the 26th of April, and Chapter 2 is the 26th to the 10th of May. So this time, the Divine Chess will work a little differently. Each opened chest will award the new currency type, Holy Talismans, and one of the following. Either food, gold, event decoration, VIP ticket, Dragon Fury, or parts for a non-divine. So every single chest you open will have at least a Holy Talisman. Exactly how many Holy Talismans we'll need, I guess we'll find out, but every single chest will give at least one. So that's important. So, in Chapter 1, you'll have a chance to find parts for the Glamorous, Changeling, and Fairy Dragons inside the Divine Chest, while Chapter 2 will include parts for the Elkhound, River, and Fenrir Dragons. So they're all oldies. Each chapter will come with its own Divine tickets and event currency, so you'll need to be sure to spend the Divine tickets from Chapter 1 before they're gone. Holy Talismans, on the other hand, will not disappear between chapters since they're needed for the Divine Altar. So, the Divine tickets will need to be used for their respective chapters. Holy Talismans will not. They're available for the whole event. So that is a really important distinction to be made between, the 2 different forms. Divine Altar. We did hear a little bit about this before, but throughout the duration of the Divine Fest event, players will have access to the Divine Altar, where Holy Talismans can be spent on parts of the available Divine Dragons. Chapter 1 will begin with only Chinese divines available, with the Northern divines being added to the Divine Altar on the 26th. So between the 12th of April to the 10th of May, there is the chance to get Chang and Longwang, and then from the 26th to the 10th, so that includes all of them at that point, in Chapter 2, you can get Frigg and the new Freya dragon. So, again, they're all going to be available as Holy Talisman rewards. So what you can do if you really wanted to is stock up on Holy Talismans and then only spend them at the end. But I guess that would mean that your chances would actually be lowered for a specific dragon, or actually no, because we get to choose a select dragon. So if anything, you can just save up all of them and just see how much currency you have, but I guess it wouldn't really make any difference in the end. But anyway, purchasing the talisman generator will provide bonus holy talismans to collect through the event, as well as unlock the bonus rewards from the usual event milestones. On top of that, this purchase will also unlock the Chrono Erlang Shen dragon within the altar, meaning you can then spend holy talismans to collect parts of this very special dragon. Now, this is something I don't like, because I know that we've got the shrines that are going to happen, and this one's for the holy talisman, but you have to then use holy talismans to buy Erlang Shen, or Chrono Erlang Shen, that is, not regular Erlang Shen, which means that's going to take away holy talismans that you can use to buy the others. So you really are going to have to pick and choose which ones you care about. So you're essentially buying a talisman, but you're not guaranteeing a dragon at a specific milestone. Or you're not guaranteeing Chrono Erlang Shen, I should say specifically. So, unless all of them cost the exact same amount, in which case it would mean that you guarantee one dragon, but obviously doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be Chrono Erlang Shen. That would be up to you. I don't like 100% the way it sounds. It could be okay, but we'll have to see. So, through the Divine Altar, players will have the freedom to decide how they want to participate. Perhaps you only need a few parts of the Chang from a previous event, then you can buy only those parts that you need to finish. Or maybe you'd rather save up your holy talismans to unlock the new Freya dragon as soon as it becomes available. The decision is yours. So they have confirmed that if you only need a few pieces of Chang, you can buy those, or you can just go for a different dragon. So I'm hoping that they haven't limited us to only one dragon free to play, because that would suck. Because I know in the other events we've got more RNG, and actually in the original Divine events and the few after, we used to get tons of Divines every event, from Castle and then Calendar and Breeding. So I hope there's more of a chance to get more than just one free to play. Otherwise, I'm not going to enjoy this. But anyway, there's also going to be lots of collection events. So from the 12th to the 26th is Copper Rising. So get Changeling, Glamorous Fairy, and Porcelain, which is the Chapter 1 Castle Award, to get the Copper Dragon. The 26th to the 10th is Oracle Rising, where you can get the Oracle Dragon. So get Elkhound, Fenrir, River, and Fjord, which is the Chapter 2 Castle Event Reward, to get Oracle. Then we've got Freya Rising. So not the other Freya, this is Freya Rising. So the Freya Dragon is returning. Collect each of the following dragons to unlock this divine. So you'd need Porcelain from Chapter 1, Fjord from Chapter 2, Longwang from the Divine Altar, and Freyu, or Frey. I'm going to start saying Freyu just to make it obvious. No, it sounds bad. Freya from the Divine Altar. So you'd need 2 of the Divine Altar dragons and both of the Castle Event Reward dragons to get Freyga. So this makes me think that getting 2 of them is going to be more difficult than they're letting on. That's the reason why I feel like that. I hope that I'm proven wrong, but this is making me think that this isn't going to be possible free to play. I hope, again, that that's not the case, but we will have to see. So anyway, moving on to the other events. Chapter 1, the 12th to the 19th, we will also be having a cake craze. I actually don't like this event, but the main prize is the Blackberry Dragon. Then the 19th to the 26th is the first part of the castle event, and inside the castle event you can get Divine tickets, season points, Porcelain, which you need for the Freya collection, and parts for PANGU. Chapter 2. So, this is the second half of the event. From the 26th to the 3rd, we have a boss challenge, which has the Brunhilde dragon. And then the 3rd to the 10th of May, we have the second half of the castle event. And in this, you can get the Fjord dragon and the remaining pieces of Pangu. So again, you need to do part 1 plus part 2 to get Pangu and to get each of the castle event rewards. And then the final part is the 12th to the 10th. Each week throughout the event, the bottomless dungeon will become the special divine dungeon with divine tickets available inside each of the dungeon chests. Since there will be a divine dungeon each week, the amount of tickets has been reduced compared to previous divine/ancient events. However, the average amount will remain the same for those participating each week. So, if that is indeed every week of the divine event, so 4 weeks where we can get divine tickets, that's going to mean that a player's got to be active playing the dungeon for 4 weeks instead of 2, which is what it normally used to be to get the tickets in the other event. So, from the sounds of it, we've got lots of returning dragons, we've got lots of new dragons. I say lots, there's a few new dragons, and we've got divines coming back, which obviously people will be relatively happy about. But I hope that the castle event is balanced similarly to the old divine castle event. Again, the Ra one was a pretty good one because it was quite lenient. The key wasn't random. So that's the event that I use as sort of the comparison. This is what DML used to be like. But I have my doubts. I severely have my doubts about how much event currency they're going to give along with holy talismans, but we'll have to wait and see for that. I did also just want to go through after yesterday, you know, we got the new update with the new bosses that are each 5,000 gems each, and the Overlord dragon to get double. I didn't know he was actually in a visible collection. I thought that the collection wasn't visible yet, but it is visible. And to get him, the super boss, who doubles the power of all the other bosses, you need to have all 4 of the new dragons. So essentially, Overlord costs 20,000 gems. So, 20,000 gems. And a $100 bundle is 3,800. It's an incredibly expensive dragon. And is it truly worth it? No. Because for that amount of money, you could do so many other things in game. But, you know, for the people that really want to spend everything, you know, you're not gonna be able to stop them at this point. But I have to say, I was expecting more dragons that were seemingly more free-to-play acquirable. Because again, if we compare it to the old style of divine events, we used to get the free calendar event dragon, then we used to get free castle event dragons, and it used to be more than one divine dragon, and then we used to get dragons in the breeding section of the event, so that was another dragon that it was quite difficult to breed the dragons, but now it would be slightly easier because of relics. But that's at least 3 different methods of getting divines that used to exist, and quite easily, that now do not. Instead, it's been replaced with a divine altar, and again, the divine altar, I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but it comes down to completely what the balancing is like on it, and I have to say, my prediction is probably going to be that it's exactly the same as how divine chests and ancient chests were, just with a different name. Because we know that we can get more than 1 holy talisman out of a chest, but you might not get more than the absolute minimum out of every chest. So in that way, it's not really much different from the existing Dragon Board event, because we end up getting pieces for the ancient after laps and for hitting purple tiles, It's pretty much the exact same thing, just with a reskin. Of course, the difference is that you can save your currency and spend it on a very specific dragon. So the RNG isn't just for, you know, when you open a divine chest. It could be any dragon. You could get a super high drop of talismans, which you can then use on any of them. That's the only difference that we have in this entire event from how the chests used to work, except now we're getting less dragons than we would normally get free to play in old divine events. So that's how it seems to me. And that's me being completely honest about it, because, you know, I'd want to be excited for a new event and new dragons, and come on, he's literally called Long Wang. So yes, I want Long Wang, but it's going to completely come down to the drop rates and completely down to how it's balanced. Because a few bad choices for lowering the numbers, and again, the dungeon lowering the amount of tickets, and then requiring players to play for 4 weeks instead of 2, it means that there will be 0 downtime. Because during the old events, if you, say, didn't care about the castle event, or you only cared about the dungeon, then you'd basically only have 2 weeks where you had to care. Now you don't have that choice. It's going to be both castle events and dungeon every single week. So I think so far, if I had to sum up my thoughts, I don't like to be negative, but it is just a different coat of paint for the same crap. That's how it comes across to me. And again, the fact that you buy the generator, which is only acquirable if you purchase, and then you don't actually guarantee the divine out of it for gameplay, which at least you could get a different dragon in the other milestones, like when we bought the one for, well, I didn't like the one for Hades because the requirements were really high on that, but at least with the Hades one, when you got to a certain point, you actually did guarantee that dragon. But now you're just buying the generator for a dragon. I don't know, it kind of defeats the point of having a generator hold a specific dragon to me. Like, you could just say, Chrono Erlang Shen is available. But no, he's both locked behind the actual chest or the altar, and if you don't have enough talismans for him and another dragon, you're gonna have to pick. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but it doesn't sit right with me somewhere. It just reeks of badness. But look, I am more than willing to be proven wrong in my initial thoughts after seeing this, but I don't really see any difference at all. Honestly, I don't. And I was looking forward to this. It was like, yeah, it's not going to be like the old Divine events. It's going to be different. It's going to be cool. And then it was like, yeah, it's going to be like the old ones for older players. Okay. Oh, it's exactly the same, except you've added an altar. And you've taken away some of the other rewards to compensate. Well, that's not really, not really an improvement then. It's just a balance. So that's why I feel the way I do. And it does upset me to think that Erlang Shen right here, this boy, years ago, I used to meme about him because he used to be, he was usable, but he was not one of the meta picks. By far. He was definitely not a meta pick, but he was available in a calendar event, and he was so whatever that people were like, sure, I'll take him as part of the calendar event. But now he's a really good dragon. But those calendar event dragons essentially said, hey, it's a divine event, we want to reward you for actually playing our game. And we don't get that anymore. We don't get rewarded for, you know, logging in for 2,000 days or just logging in daily. We don't get any dragons for doing that. Now it requires like an entire 4 weeks of effort just to get a divine that people are okay with. But PANGU, compared to all the exception divines and ancients, is pretty eh. Like, don't get me wrong, if you don't have a divine, adding PANGU is fantastic because he's still a divine. But compared to Oya, compared to Freya, it's not the same. Because they're all exception dragons that do different things, but PANGU's not one of those. And yet he's the castle event reward. So we still have to play 2 entire events, essentially, to be able to get him. That's the reason why I'm a little bit... I'm really not excited. But, again, if it turns out the event is fantastic and everyone can get thousands of divines and dragons and everything good in the world, feel free to call me an idiot then. But, yeah, I'm not sure about this. I don't think this is the direction I was hoping it was going to go in, but, you know, it's not unexpected, put it that way. But anyway, for now, I do genuinely wish everyone the very best of luck with getting as many dragons as they possibly can. I hope that you can get PANGU and Longwang, and that you can get Freya and Freya and all the others. I really do hope that you can get them. And I do look forward to actually seeing it in game and seeing how all of the balancing truly is. But for now, I appreciate you being here. Make sure you check out the full thread yourself if you want to. Maybe leave a comment. If you love it, tell them. If you hate it, tell them. But anyway, thank you for joining me today. And I do hope that you can join me again soon.